Hello.
Hi, how are you today?
Very well. Happy
Uh,
to see you and happy to hear you. Huh? Wonderful.
For
Oh dear.
anybody who was around a couple weeks ago when we tried to do this on a different platform, it didn't work. So I'm happy to see and hear you also.
Lovely. Yeah. Let's
Uh,
hope everyone will get here soon. One thing, Kristin, I wanted to ask you, will the participants be able to send in questions?
yes. So everybody can comment on the video. And if they're here live, we can respond to them. Otherwise, on the replay, we can do so, in the comments after
Yes.
on LinkedIn, basically.
Okay. Sounds
Yeah.
good.
Okay. So let's get started, right?
Shall we get started or shall we wait till past?
Um, yeah, no, I think for the sake of the replay, like we
Mm-hmm.
should get into it. And then I know, for example, I got notified that we were live. So
Yeah.
people will attend when they attend. And I was telling Satu before we started, we have 20 people who said, yes, I want to be here. And then the way LinkedIn Live usually works, because the video lives on forever, is that a lot of people can catch up on the replay.
Yeah. All right. Let's get going. Would
Okay,
you like to
cool.
start?
Yeah, so my name is Kristin Gutierrez for everybody who doesn't know me. And I'm really excited today to be here with Satu. I will let her pronounce her own last name. Shouldn't do that, but like a little bit of grace there. So the topic we're going to talk about today is sales and operational best practices. So we'll peel back the layers of the onion and talk about that. But by way of quick introduction, I am a best-selling author and international keynote speaker on topics like confident leadership, taking the initiative, and thriving through innovation. And I've spent 20 years more or slightly less, 19 years specifically selling and working in the language services industry. And that is where my background comes from, to confidently talk about what I see work, what I see doesn't work, and then hear your insights as well. So, Satu, I will let you introduce yourself and we'll get started.
All right. So, hello, everyone. And hi, Kristin, again. I'm very happy to be here today to talk about this important topic of sales and operations. I think the importance of it lies in how it's one of the key components in making companies successful. My name is Satu Suomalainen. I work as program manager and project manager, mainly for Beyond and Aclaro. And I come from Finland originally. I have also worked in Germany. Nowadays, I'm based in France. And I started my career already back in the 90s. And that was as a technical author first, and also as a localization project manager, even then, in a software company. And since then, I've held various different positions, mainly in operations. But I did work as a pre-sales manager in a sales team for a while as well. And that taught me a lot. That was good. So, hopefully today's session will be useful for everyone, both in sales and operations, and also maybe demonstrating how we can help each other in a meaningful way to play this important part in our company's success the best we can.
Right. So the funny story between me and Satu is, it turns out she remembers we had met back in 2018 through when I worked at NetApp, basically.
Yes.
This is amazing. Even dug up the old emails. But I don't remember specifically how we came to talking recently, like 2 months ago. But it is really an honor to have this conversation with you, particularly. I was texting one of my favorite program managers last night. I have a lot. It's like I collect favorite operational people.
All right.
Because I think that actually speaks to the bridge that I, as a salesperson and as a sales leader, build in order to say, like, I can sell, but can we deliver? Meaning, I better not go sell something that isn't sellable or viable or profitable or without checking in constantly with my operational counterparts. And when you're proactive at doing that, you collect people that you just absolutely love. So I was texting, and I told him I was doing this LinkedIn Live with you today. The irony of doing it with you is we've never worked together.
Yeah.
But I love that because we had an instant connection on the approach to this topic. And so that'll make it really interesting. But okay, so let's talk, tell me a little bit, Satu, about how, we're not competing, we're on the same team, we're on the same side, but why it's not always easy. What have you seen?
Right.
What have you heard go
Yes.
wrong?
Yeah, of course, you and me, we know the kind of joys of working together as well. Like sales and operations, it can be fun and it should never be kind of forgotten. We need to have fun. We spend so much time at work that let's enjoy it. But yes, sales and operations, we have seen tough situations, both on our various careers. But typically the things that we see is that sales might be selling something which is not definitely, it's not easily profitable. That's one thing. Maybe over promising something that it's not very doable. Also not involving us soon enough, because we can bring lots of input to the sales circle as well in operations. But then, of course, there was this one kind of worst example, what can happen if things go wrong between sales and operations. I heard this from a colleague. She's a brilliant senior project manager. And there she had experienced a salesperson in such a negative manner that she felt that she was breathing down her neck, checking every hour how the project was going. And that was not constructive, that was not helpful. And unfortunately, in this particular example, it had led to this project manager having actually left the company, moved on to another company where the sales and ops cooperation worked much, much better. So that's kind of the worst case scenario. Of course, it can, it can even lead to companies losing business. That's what the worst thing that can happen. So I wanted to ask you, have you maybe seen this on your side, any of your sales team members ever haven't tried to micromanage operations?
Oh, sure. This is why I find it so valuable to have the relationship and treat everybody as humans first. I mean, it sounds so logical saying it out loud, but you, my operational counterparts, my PMs, my directors, my VPs, my program managers, I can't do anything without you. There might be a time, and there is, in 18, 19 years, there is a time where I do need something yesterday. We dropped the ball, or the client is harassing us, or whatever the case is. And I do need to be on top of the situation. But they know that then it's coming from a place of respect and not a place of negativity. And I think that makes all of the difference in terms of the attitude and the receptibility of the because we're all in it. We're just in the weeds, right? But that being said, this is why I always turn it into rosy colored glasses. I too have seen people quit as a result of just the toxicity between the teams. It's really unfortunate, right? Over-promising, profitability, and practicality are for sure the things that sales teams mess up on, right? I will fall on the sword on that. And as I was advising, so now I consult, and I no longer work for an LSP. Now I consult the industry on sales best practices, leadership strategy, alignment between the two groups. And I was talking to a client yesterday about how to, well, first of all, how do the $100 million LSPs operate, right? Because 20 million and lower operate one way, but 100 million LSPs operate another way. PMs, tell me if you agree with this, project managers at bigger LSPs, it's not in their job description, but they sell. They're client facing, they're constantly asking the right. Tell me your perspective on that.
Yeah, this is one of the things which I think it's important for everyone to understand as well, that yes, in operations, we are in a place of selling as well. And this is where we can learn a lot from our sales colleagues. And even in terms of like training, typically all of the salespeople, I hope, will be trained, for instance, in negotiation skills. So that is something that every project manager can also use. Every program manager, definitely, they will need it, because we might be able to help sales in, getting more business with the clients with whom we work. And also, even if we are not directly involved in selling new services, we are often the kind of favorite point of contact for our clients, because we work with them every day. We get to know people. They will introduce us to their managers, to their marketing leaders, to their other departments. And there we can actually pull back our lovely salesperson and say that, hey, here we have this new contact. Maybe the sales team then has time to look further into what the client needs. Wow. And then the sales team ends up having different kinds of relationships with the clients, also with different stakeholders at the clients, than what we do. And we can both benefit from the information that we get. Like, I can feed in information to our sales team, and my lovely salesperson can always, share information, what she has heard or he has heard from the client. And like nowadays, I know sales have some cool tools as well, like, sharing information. That's key between everyone basically in the business. But one thing that I recently had, my salesperson sent me a transcript of a part of a conversation that she had with a client, because it had very valuable background information for me to understand why my client contacts are in the situation where they are. So this is really it should be a very kind of living, evolving relationship between us, and we can both we are in the same boat, and our goal should be the same. Of course, this is for all companies also, communicate about the strategy to everyone in the company. The strategy is not just for the salespeople. Operations, we need to have the same strategy, the same goals, so that we can work together towards those goals.
I mean, it's this is why I know we agreed to do this live, because I cannot shout it from the rooftops enough, the perspectives and everything that you're suggesting, because those are the best practices. And certain LSPs, certain operational teams within LSPs have this figured out, and sometimes they don't, right? Mm-hmm. Small LSPs, big LSPs, or whatever shape and size. And so that's why, when being at a behemoth like Lionbridge for 6 years, and the service I basically was selling into tech companies, but also not. I carved out a market research vertical niche for myself. The backstory I'll save for another day, but ultimately all of this market research work was being funneled to the Madrid operational team. And I would be making it up right now, but I think at the time when I was at Lionbridge, we had 6 or 7 operational centers around the world, maybe a few more, right? Yeah. And so that meant that as a salesperson, depending on what you were selling, you would be auto assigned to one division, or it would be assigned based on the sequence of events internally.
Okay.
But market research would always go to Madrid. And and this, we still WhatsApp, me and Ignacio and Diego and the whole team. I love how they ran their team. They ran their team like a family. They sat around their table, their conference table, all of their project managers, and there weren't many because it was one operational hub, right? And sure, they had access to engineers and all the access to the other resources in this big organization, but their team itself was probably 6 people. So it wasn't that big. And they were supporting multiple business units and requests and all types of content, but they also supported market research. And so Ignacio and I would just go to all of the calls together. We would write proposals together. We would rely on the other resources I had access to as well. And then we would, no matter which PM would be assigned to a particular account, all of the other PMs would know about the accounts, and they would be able to support in the times of need. And then Ignacio himself would step in and PM the jobs when needed, in terms of people are on vacation or somebody's out sick. So he was an exceptional leader who had a director role, who was willing to get dirty in the weeds,
as
right?
well. Yeah.
I mean, I just like mad respect. And then we were, despite I lived in Florida at the time and he was in Madrid. So like, despite this huge time zone challenge, constantly hyper responsive to each other.
Yeah.
That helped, right? And so it's just kind of reiterating the things that you're saying, but telling a story around it, because I just have example after example of every LSP I've ever worked at where like the operational team, even at ULG, like there weren't that many. I mean, they're a much smaller LSP than Lionbridge was. So we had much fewer operational teams, but like every single team that I was able to interact with, we had special relationships, you know.
Yeah, you get to work that close together. And I think that has to be the base of it. You should get to know each other. And this is where companies can actually help as well. Like when new people join, we could be trained not just by our peers in operations or in sales. It could be also like, hey, let's talk to our lovely salespeople. It should come as a natural part of the cooperation or just the work. Like part of the work in operations, it is cooperation with sales. I just can't underline that enough. It makes the work enjoyable, like you said with your example with Ignacio in that case. And I was actually curious, did you go and see him in Madrid, or did you just develop it offline?
Okay. It had to be business, you know, despite me liking him and he liking me, like it had to be business specific. So we ultimately were invited. I think this was the trip. I think I went twice. And I worked with his team for about 4 years. So twice in 4 years, right? And this is way pre-pandemic. Once I went to Madrid, but we also went to Germany to do a huge RFP pitch. That was grueling. I felt we were required to negotiate on the fly. And so he's literally like calculating profitability and gross margin while they're sitting across the table, like beating us up. It was, we did win. But it was, nobody wants to have to like negotiate down to the pennies on price. Right?
Yeah. Prices, that's just an important part of it as well. Like we always feel that sales should know the pricing. Like it could be sales or pre-sales, whoever works for you, making sure that you know how much we pay our resources so that we can still make that margin to give this stellar service to our clients.
Not all LSPs have like a vendor manager role, right? And so like if the vendor manager role exists, I think it's important for the vendor manager team to release quarterly or whatever it might be. Sometimes it's monthly, like what the rates are, right? But like I was advising a client last week, I mean, it really is, what can you sell it at? And people buy from people they know, like, and trust, but who can differentiate. And so we're going to talk about innovation, because I think this goes nicely into that. But like, the point is, we cannot compete. There are hundreds of thousands of LSPs and sales reps and operational leaders in this space. So we cannot compete on price, quality, or turnaround time. We have to build in something around value as far early as like the initial conversation with this prospect. And depending on the size of this deal or not, is it $20,000 or $2 million? That's going to depend on how many conversations we have and how many chances we have to drive something like innovation to just truly make us different and show the client that we are, you know, je ne sais pas, like just thinking really for them and on their best behalf. And that is where I would never survive. So to finish the pricing conversation, it's like, yes, there should be rates, and yes, sales and ops should be in agreement before any rates get thrown over the fence. But like, I'm of the opinion, rates is not obviously leading the conversation. I think sometimes that's a conversation for another day. But I think the more exciting part is,
I agree. Yeah. And also, like, I think we work for companies where the price is not like we are not in it for offering the cheapest price anyway. That's not where we want to be. But yes, innovation, then what can we offer, like the service offerings of a company? This, again, I feel that in companies, like the management team should also make sure that everyone in the company knows where we are at. what we are targeting also in the future when it comes, for instance, technology, like how it's evolving so fast. Everyone should be, maybe we should have workshops where both, sales and operations take part, where we actually look into the service offerings. What can we offer? How can we differentiate? What is really the additional value that we can offer, which others are maybe not yet there? But we should be on the same page there as well. Thinking back, what internally, in operations, we can sell as well. We should know in our companies what kind of service offerings are possible and what we are targeting in the future.
Yeah. No, I think the idea of the workshop internally for companies to say, like, let's take a step back, it's end of year, or let's plan for beginning of next year, and how do we really bring sales and ops together? Because what happens is, especially pre-pandemic, a little bit more now that we're a few years post, sales goes off and has their sales meetings. The sales kickoff.
Yes.
I'm like, where is operations?
Yeah.
And I get it. It's hard.
Don't forget us.
Yeah. You're the ones making everything literally happen every day. And it is hard. When I consult my clients now, we do workshops, depending on the size of the LSP. Sometimes it's like an all company workshop, and sometimes it's the project manager team, for example. And we talk about having a seller's mindset to the fact to the things we talked about earlier. But this conversation about best practices and true collaboration, can you afford time away for your program managers and above even to meet with the sales teams and have like a 1 day, 2 day offsite where you really have a chance to roll up your sleeves? And if not, we've got Zoom now, right? So we can just do it remote.
Exactly.
But it's like, at what level and at what point do you pause and say, this is a very important, this conversation is really what's going to drive revenue, increase profitability, keep us growing, this, like being able to collaborate, trust each other. The benefits of being in person are obviously, they far exceed all, but like Zoom will suffice, and having like many
suffice in these circumstances. But yes, I love what you're saying. Really, we should have those kickoffs. We do hear about sales kickoffs, and it's kind of rare to hear that operations would be taking part. Whereas this is, of course, I suppose both of us would kind of promote this idea for everyone who's listening. Yes, definitely, let's have kickoffs together, and really us knowing each other. It will help us work better together when things get tough, because things will always get tough. This human connection, it will make it okay. We can enjoy it even when it's difficult, even when it's challenging, but also we will make a better job out of it when we have a good, trustful relationship. I suppose trust is behind everything. Actually, this is the key. If I trust my sales counterpart, I'm fine, and he or she's fine as well.
Yeah. Well, Ingrid Christensen, if you know her, she owns an LSP, and she wrote a book called The Language of Trust.
Right.
So I'm going to tell her I gave her a shout out right now, because it is the backbone of this conversation, at least. And I just popped my QR code up at the top of this invite in case anyone watching now or the replay wants to book some time with me. That's just a 15-minute link. Of course, you can DM me or reach out however, and I'm happy to have a call about this topic in general, or maybe how we can move the needle in your business. Because Satu, I agree with you. There's so much here, but being conscious of time and all. I know as we were prepping for this, we talked about, what not to do, right? Okay, micromanaging and overpromising. And then what are some examples that we've worked through, like we talked about, where it's really worked? If nothing else, to truly just inspire people watching to take something back to their team and say, hey, we should rethink this, right? Or wow, these magical experiences are happening between sales and ops. It really is amazing that we've never worked together, and we have this similar
vision of how it should be. I mean, partially it is happening. I love my salespeople.
Sure.
there's always room for improvement as well.
Yeah.
And I think really company-wide, it could be companies can make a difference by maybe introducing these meetings together with sales and operations. There's no need to keep them separate all the time.
No. Yes. Agree. Though, like a sales ops sync internally should be happening. This is a challenge to all in the next 2 quarters, right? That's logical. Q4, Q1, a sales ops sync, and bringing ops in. Ops doesn't know unless it's a true big program, right? And then there's a lot of collaboration anyway. On the net new deals, ops doesn't know what sales doesn't share. And so how do we give you the gong or call recordings? How do we give you the AI transcripts? Because we're all using the different technology anyway now, most of us. But then also, how do we have a communication loop to share with the right people in ops what conversations are starting so that we can bring you in as early as possible?
Yes.
Not to ask questions tactically about word count and things like that, which also has to happen depending on the thing, but more about helping to set the stage, showing that me as a salesperson, I'm surrounded by a team behind the scenes that are experts, subject matter experts, right? That really we have the client's best interest at heart. And
yes.
So let's wrap up with some tips or constructive suggestions, strategies to drive forward the business. I mean, I know we talked about a lot of them already, including this concept of a workshop, but any other?
Yeah, the workshops, of course, that's a nice one. But then something that, of course, is happening in many companies, it's also these regular meetings where we get the updates both from ops and sales. And that, I think, has great value. It has to be kept interesting because these are regular updates that everyone gets, like all hands meetings, for instance. But also maybe in operations, I would say the operations managers could also kind of make a point to everyone in operations, saying that, hey, pay attention to what's happening in sales. You can learn a lot. Then for these people, arrange possibilities for people to meet, whether it's in person, of course, that would be wonderful. But if not, then Zoom meetings between sales and operations. Maybe have workforces where you have representatives from both teams.
Yeah, I love this. And then I thought of one other thing then to maybe wrap us up, which is this thing we talked about, peer-to-peer escalation, because you just alluded to it again, things get hard, right? Or we started the conversation with the whole reason it's so important for me to build a bridge is because sometimes it might look like I am riding on somebody to get the thing done, but it's really me influencing what the client is saying or whatever, yes. Right? But how do we create an environment where it's encouraged? In this case, the salesperson goes direct to the PM and says, hey, I have this issue. Or the PM goes direct to the salesperson and says, hey, I have this issue. And both people are able to constructively hear feedback versus sales going to their boss going to the director, yes. The director going to the PM, and or vice versa. So what are your thoughts on that?
Right. So I always find that escalation is the last thing that you should do. First try to talk with the person. Yes, peer-to-peer. So if you have a problem with the requirements or communication maybe of your salesperson, just go and talk to them. Gently try and explain that, hey, I'm juggling 17 projects at the same time. I will take care of your project, but maybe give me a break here. So try to communicate directly with your peers, like you say. Yeah. That would be the best thing, so that we don't have to, the manager shouldn't even need to know. Maybe they can know, but if we have a real human connection, usually we can talk it out.
Yeah.
And I'm sure sales and operations both, we are receptive to feedback. Of course, a culture of feedback loops. That's also having these positive feedback loops that people get used to giving feedback and receiving feedback, constructive feedback. That would be wonderful in any circumstances.
I love that. Yeah, because that way when the girl cries wolf, it's real,
Yes.
Right. And it's like, no, this is actually a thing. And actually, this is my pricing strategy as well as a rep or as a leader. I want to have the business's best interest at heart, obviously, while figuring out what the client needs, right? But like in a commoditized world, in order to keep the business alive and increase profitability, like I want to be seen as the leader or the individual who is trying to sell at an appropriate rate, so that when I have to give away the farm, because sometimes it happens, we have to just be super price low on price or whatever, because it's worth it or whatever, then they trust me to say, okay, Kristin isn't a leader or a contributor who constantly says lowest price is going to be what wins. So it's like in both cases, learning how to price appropriately, or in this case, learning how to escalate or just constructively talk to your peer to resolve the issues, means that when you do raise your hand and say, I have a real issue, you've already, first of all, gone to them, right? And they know that you're escalating, and then the escalation is treated seriously versus, oh, well, this person just complains a lot.
Yeah. And of course, like prices, there's also this thing that we can, in operations, of course, we can understand that sometimes the price just like we would not have won this if we, had not accepted to do lower prices. But that has to be communicated also throughout operations, so that there it's understood, like, okay, sales understands that the margins will be low. And then operations will, of course, try to innovate to make it work anyway. But it has to be accepted then that, yes.
Oh, I mean, this is a whole nother conversation, right? Because I would never even just tell a client X, Y, or Z, but that's me. I would never tell a client, here's the price, without 100% approval from like the most senior operational leader, if that was the case. But not all salespeople do that. So I think that's why this conversation is so hard. And I know there's so many smaller LSPs who are looking to go to the next million or double their revenues or set themselves up to be sold. And these conversations are so important to hear. Like, this is how the best practice is to be done. But Satu, I know like you and I could obviously talk forever. About this topic. Thank you.
We'll continue another time. Thank you so much, Kristin. I hope it has been interesting for everyone who listens. And then any questions, of course, we'll be happy to answer them afterwards as well.
Yeah. And any closing comments or thoughts? I mean, I didn't mean to cut you off. But
maybe just coming back to the human side of things, like with everyone around you, like with your colleagues, sales and operations, just be kind, be respectful. Like we never know what's happening in the other people's lives. So let's keep that respect and kindness with everything we do.
All right. Thank you so much. Super engaging conversation.
Thank you, Kristin. You take care. Talk to you soon. Bye.